Hey friends, welcome back to She Will Empower. I'm your host, Jessica Cherry. I'm a strategic intervention and empowerment coach, an NLP practitioner, a networking and empowerment community director, a certified sound bath practitioner, social media and marketing gal, and your Tuesday morning wake up club host on 94.3 KWVH Wimberley Valley Radio, where we bring real talk, real tools, and real empowerment straight to the airwaves. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. And if you're listening on the podcast replay, welcome to this space where we talk about mindset, growth, psychology, and real life decisions that shape who we become. This show is for people who are trying to do better in life, the ones building businesses and careers, the ones raising kids, the ones caring for aging parents, and the ones reinventing themselves. And today, we're going to talk about something that I believe impacts far more than people realize. We're going to talk about the hidden cost of playing small. Now, before you immediately brush me off and think, oh, that's not me, I want you to stay with me because playing small doesn't always look the way we think it does. It doesn't always look like the person that lacks confidence. It doesn't always look like someone sitting quietly in the corner of the room. And it doesn't always look like someone who never ever takes risks. Sometimes playing small looks like the person who is successful, the person who is respected, the one who did accomplish a lot, the one that everyone believes has it all together, and yet inside, they know they're holding back. They know they're capable of more. They know there are dreams that they've buried, there's goals that are postponed, conversations they've avoided, and risks that they've refused to take. So parts of their self are still hidden. Now, over time, they become so accustomed to living beneath their potential that it starts to feel normal. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Because I don't think that people wake up one morning and consciously decide to play small. I think it happens gradually, little by little, decision by decision, and compromise by compromise, until one day they look around and realize they've built a life that feels safe but doesn't feel fully alive. So let's talk about what playing small actually means, because many may understand it. Playing small isn't humility. Playing small isn't kindness. Playing small isn't being a team player. And playing small isn't staying grounded. Playing small is when fear becomes the decision maker. It's when fear starts driving your life. You don't apply for the position or the promotion because you're afraid you might fail. And you don't start the business because you're afraid of criticism. And you don't raise your prices higher because you're afraid people will leave. And you don't speak up because you're afraid someone won't like what you have to say. And you don't pursue the dream because you're afraid you're too old, too late, too inexperienced, too different, too something. Playing small is not about your capability. It's about the gap between what you're capable of and what you're allowing yourself to pursue. That is where the pain lives. Not in what you do, no, but what you know you're capable of doing and continue avoiding. So, I want to talk about one of the biggest reasons people stay small, and that's because comfort feels safe. Our brains love safety. Our brains are designed to keep us safe, not necessarily fulfilled, not necessarily successful, not necessarily transformed, alive. That's it. Which means your brain would rather keep you stuck in a familiar situation than encourage you to take a risk towards something bigger, even if the familiar situation makes you miserable. Think about that. People stay in jobs they hate, relationships they've outgrown, friendships that drain them, patterns that no longer serve them, not because they enjoy them, no, because they're familiar. And familiarity creates the illusion of safety. Comfort zones. Oh man, those comfort zones. Comfort zones are sneaky because they don't feel dangerous. They feel cozy. They feel reasonable. They sound like, maybe next time. All when things will settle down, we'll wait till when things will settle down. Or when I have more money, I'll do it, or when I have more time, right? I've been guilty of that one. Or when the kids are older is a really popular one. Oh, when the kids are older, or when I know more, or when I feel ready. And before you know it, years have passed. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you kept waiting for the perfect moment. Have you ever noticed that certain dreams refuse to disappear? They start with you year after year. Maybe it's writing a book or starting a business, changing careers, or speaking on stages, or going back to school, traveling, creating something meaningful, helping people, building a legacy, whatever it is. It keeps showing up. And I don't think that it's an accident because I believe the dreams that continue tapping on your shoulder are there for a reason. They're not trying to annoy you, they're trying to awaken you, right? Those dreams are yours. But when you continuously ignore them, something happens. We start convincing ourselves that we don't really want them. We tell ourselves the dream is unrealistic. Or we tell ourselves it's silly. We tell ourselves we're fine without it. But deep down, we know. And that's where regret begins. Not from failure, but from never trying. So, one of the saddest things I see is people shrinking themselves to fit in spaces they've already outgrown. They've become quieter, less visible, less ambitious, less expressive, less authentic. And not because that's who they are, no, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that being fully themselves made other people comfortable. Maybe they were called too much or too loud or too ambitious, too emotional, too driven, too opinionated, too confident, too successful. So they've learned to become less visible, less powerful, less themselves. And here's the problem: the world doesn't benefit when people shrink. The world benefits when people step fully into who they are. Because your gifts were never meant to stay hidden. Your voice was never meant to stay silent. And your purpose was never meant to stay on standby. Because there's a difference between living your life that's aligned with your values and living a life that's limited by your fears. The reason I called this episode Hidden Costs is because they don't show up immediately. No, no, no. Hidden costs are another animal, right? For example, if you stay silent in a meeting today, nothing dramatic happens. And if you don't launch the business this month, the world doesn't stop spinning. No. And if you avoid that difficult conversation, nobody hands you a bill tomorrow. The costs show up slowly, quietly, over time. And because it happens gradually, many people don't realize what's costing them until years later. It's like that frog. There's a saying that says there's a frog and it's jumped in water and the water slowly starts boiling. The frog doesn't feel it, right? It doesn't just jump out. It's comfy, it's cozy, it's in a jacuzzi. It's that type of thing. So I want to talk about one of the biggest costs of all, and that is regret. Right. I think most people believe that regret comes from failing. But after years of talking with people, interviewing guests, listening to stories, and watching people navigate life, I have noticed something. Most people don't regret the things that they tried. They regret the things that they never tried, the risks they never took, the opportunities they never pursued, and the words they've never said, the dreams they never ever gave a chance. Because failure teaches you something. Failure, that gives you information. Failure gives you experience, and failure gives you growth. But never trying, that never trying, that leaves a question mark. And question marks can haunt people for decades. They think, what if I had just started? Or what if I had just spoken up at that time? And what if I believed in myself? What could I have done? Right? What if I had just gone for it? Just said, I'm going to go for it. And what if I had trusted myself instead of listening to everyone else's fears? Those questions have a way of lingering. And the older we get, the more valuable time becomes. You begin realizing that life isn't infinite. And you begin understanding that someday the opportunity to start may no longer exist. And that's why I say you can recover from failure, but it's much harder to recover from a lifetime of wondering what could have been. And so here's something that surprises people: playing small doesn't protect confidence, it destroys it. And many people believe that confidence comes first. And I said this in my last episode, and they think, when I feel confident, then I'll take the leap. And when I feel confident, then I'll apply. And when I feel confident, then I will speak up. And when I feel confident, then I will go after what I want. But confidence rarely works that way. Confidence is built through evidence, and evidence comes from action, not waiting. Action. And every single time you avoid something because you're afraid, you accidentally send yourself a message. And the message says, I must not be capable, and I must not be ready, and I must not be good enough. And the more often you avoid, the more believable that story becomes. And meanwhile, every time you take action despite fear, you gather evidence. Evidence that says, I can learn, I can handle this, I can grow, and I can survive discomfort. See, confidence isn't built by standing still. No, it's built by movement, even imperfect movement. Okay, so I want to talk about another cost here, and it's the cost of resentment. That one is so huge. It's so huge, and it doesn't get talked about enough. And sometimes the anger that you feel inside your heart, that anger isn't actually anger, it's resentment. And sometimes resentment is the result of living a life that doesn't match who you really are. Think about it. When you're constantly suppressing your desires, ignoring your needs, and holding back your voice and avoiding your dreams, eventually something starts building inside. You're feeling frustrated, right? Irritated, short tempered, disconnected. You start wondering why everyone else seems happy while you are exhausted, and why everyone else seems fulfilled while you're stuck. And often the answer isn't that everyone else is doing better, it's that you've been abandoning yourself for too long. You can only ignore your own truth for so long before it starts demanding attention. And resentment is one of the ways it speaks. I know it stings, but stay with me. Here's another cost. Ready? It's the cost of missed opportunities. Let's be honest here. Playing small has a financial cost too, a career cost, a business cost, a visibility cost, an opportunity cost, the promotion you never applied for, the client you never pitched, the event you never attended, the collaboration you never pursued, The video you never posted because you were scared of everybody thinking, well, what does she look like, right? The video, that's a very, very common one. The video you never posted on social media, and the service you never launched, and the idea you've never shared. Every single opportunity has a lifespan, and some opportunities do not come back. Many don't. And while you're waiting to feel ready, someone else is moving. Not because they're more talented, and not because they're smarter, and not because they're more deserving than you. They're moving because they decided imperfect action was better than perfect hesitation. And one of the greatest myths is that successful people are fearless. They are not. They just learned how to move without feeling afraid. I think that one hits closer to me, but wait, there's more. There's another cost of being small, and this one is going to hit deep. This is the cost of becoming a stranger to yourself. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when you spend years ignoring your own desires, something begins to happen. You lose touch with yourself. You become so focused on what everyone else needs and what everyone else wants and what everyone else expects that eventually you stop asking yourself one simple question: what do I want? And surprisingly, many people, and mothers and women and caregivers and parents, these people especially struggle to answer it. And not because they're incapable, but because they've spent years prioritizing everyone else. They know what their spouse wants, they know what their children need, they know what their boss expects, and they know what society values. But when they are asked what they want, it's silence, right? That disconnect doesn't happen overnight. It's created with one small compromise at a time. And if you've been there, you're not alone. I've been there too. But reconnecting with yourself requires honesty. You have to get quiet enough to hear your own voice again. Now, I want to speak directly to the mothers for a moment, okay? But honestly, this applies to anyone who influences others. Children just don't hear what we say, they watch what we do. They watch how we handle challenges, and they watch whether we take risks or we don't. And they watch whether we pursue our dreams or we don't. And they watch whether we honor ourselves or we don't. And if we spend our entire lives shrinking ourselves, apologizing for our ambitions, and doubting our worth and avoiding opportunities, what lesson are they learning? Because whether because whether we realize it or not, we're giving people permission, right? When they see us play small, they often believe they should too. But when they see us grow, when they see us take chances, when they see us trust ourselves, we give them permission to do the same. Because sometimes your courage isn't about you, it's about someone else watching, right? It's about those little eyes that are watching your move. Now, I want to talk about something I harp about, but I know it's so important. It is the comfort zone. And I want you to think of playing small, which is the next cost. It's the comfort zone tax, right? I want you to think of playing small as a tax, a comfort zone tax. Every year, you stay in the same place because fear is making your decisions, you're paying it. You pay it with confidence. You pay it with opportunities. You pay it with experiences, with growth. You pay it with fulfillment. And the thing about tax is that most people don't realize they're paying it until they've accumulated years of missed opportunities. Years, not days, not weeks, years. And that's why this conversation matters, because awareness creates choice. Once you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. Now, I want to be transparent with you. There have been moments in my life where I've played small too, and moments where I've questioned myself, and moments where I have waited, and moments where I worried about what people would think, and moments where I hesitated. And every single time I finally took the leap, I looked back and realized something. The fear was almost always bigger than the reality. It was just all in my head. The scenario I created in my head was far, far, far worse than what actually happened. And I wanted to eat myself alive because of that, right? And every time that things don't go perfectly, I grew, I learned, I evolved because growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. Growth happens when you challenge the version of yourself that believes safety is more important than possibility. See, most who play small aren't doing it because they don't want more. No, 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 no. They're doing it because something deeper is getting in the way, right? Because if wanting it were enough, you'd already have it. You would already have it in your hands. If intelligence were enough, you'd already be there. But if talent were enough, there would be no gap between where you are and where you want to be. But there is a gap, right? And the gap is usually created by fear, conditioning, beliefs, experiences that have been quietly running the show for years. And today, we are pulling back the curtain. Yes, we are. Because once you understand why you're playing small, you can stop blaming yourself and start changing the pattern. Let's start with one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck, and that is the fear of what other people will think. Tom and Jane down the road. What are they going to think? Oh, I'm so scared about doing it. Not logically. It's not logic. Most of us know we shouldn't care so much about what other people think. We hear it all the time, right? We've heard the quotes. We've heard people say, don't worry about what other people think. Just do it, right? But if it were that easy, everyone would do it. The truth is, human beings are wired for connection. We want acceptance. We want belonging. We want the community, right? Thousands of years ago, being rejected by a group could literally threaten your survival, right? So we're a deep conditioned program like that as humans. So even though we live in a completely different world now, our brain, part of our brain, still reacts to rejection as if it's dangerous, right? And let's be honest here, it hurts. It hurts, which means every time you consider doing something bigger, your brain immediately asks, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. What if people criticize me? What if people laugh at me? What if people think I've changed? What if I fail publicly? That's a really big fear for me, at least, right? I've overcome it, obviously, but what if I fail publicly? What if I embarrass myself? What if they don't approve? And because those questions feel uncomfortable, many people never move forward. Not because they're incapable, but because they're trying to avoid judgment. But here's what I've learned: people are going to judge you anyway. They're going to judge you if you start the business. They're going to judge you if you don't. They're going to judge you if you speak up. They're going to judge you if you stay quiet. They're going to judge you if you succeed. They're going to judge you if you fail. They're going to judge you anyway. So if judgment is inevitable, why not build the life you actually want? Right? Just go for it. Life is too short to live with regret and all the feelings that come with this. So let's move on. Let's just do it, right? Be like Nike and just do it, because people, they're going to judge you anyway. They're going to be talking. That's what people do. They talk, right? Especially the ones that live in fear. They always talk. So just do it anyway, right? All right. So let's move on to the last one, which is one I think a lot of us feel, which is the fear of failure. This one is obvious, I think, but most people know they're afraid of failure. And what they don't realize is how much power that fear has over their decisions. Fear feels personal. It's like the proof that you're not good enough, proof that you're not smart enough, proof that you were not meant for it. But failure isn't proof of any of those things, right? Failure is information. That's all. Think about every successful person you've ever admired. Do you really believe they got there without mistakes? No, I'll just answer that for you. No. What, without rejection, without embarrassment, without setbacks? Of course not. Many times, people that are successful get on stages and they talk about their fear and everybody applauds, right? The difference is that they didn't treat failure as a stop sign, they treated it as feedback. Most people quit after the first obstacle. They say, no, I'm giving up. I'm giving up. And they throw in the towel. Successful people learn from it and keep moving. Now, I want to talk about something that leans into what people think, and that is people pleasing. See, people pleasing is often fear. Now, I'm going to say something that might be a little bit uncomfortable. People pleasing isn't always kindness. Many times it's fear of rejection from people, right? Fear of conflict or fear of disapproval, fear of being misunderstood, fear of someone being upset with you. So you're going to have to please them. So instead of honoring your truth, you manage everyone else's emotions. You become responsible for everyone's comfort, everyone's happiness, and that's a job no human can successfully do. Why? Because you can't always please everybody. You just can't. There's always going to be somebody griping somewhere, right? Because no matter how hard you try, someone will eventually be disappointed. Someone will disagree. Someone won't understand, and that's okay. Your purpose in life is not to keep everyone comfortable. That is not why you were born, right? You were not born to keep everybody comfortable. And your purpose is to become who you were created to be, which leads me to point out imposter syndrome. I want to talk about that. Let's talk about the voice that whispers, "Who do you think you are?" You know the one. The voice that shows up right before you want to do something important. The voice that says, "You're not qualified enough. You're not experienced enough. Someone knows more. Someone else out there knows more. Someone else is better. Someone else deserves it more." That is imposter syndrome. And here's the funny thing, it often shows up the strongest in capable people. Yes, it does. Because capable people understand how much they don't know. Meanwhile, the less qualified people move forward with complete confidence. And you probably know a couple of them in your life, right? The less qualified people move forward in complete confidence, maybe even ego. Now, listen, the goal isn't to eliminate imposter syndrome. The goal is to stop letting it drive the car. All right. You can hear the voice and still move, and you can feel uncertain and still take action. You can still be nervous and still say yes. See, confidence isn't the absence of fear, confidence is moving anyway. So stop hiding and just do it. The next version of your life usually requires something different. It's a different version of yourself, not a fake version, right? Not a perfect version, because we all know there's no such thing as being perfect, but a braver version, a more honest version, really, with yourself, a more visible version, a version that trusts yourself, a version willing to risk the temporary discomfort. See, most people don't need another strategy. They don't need another course. They don't need to Google it more. They don't need another certification. They need permission. Permission to stop apologizing. And this is permission with themselves, right? Permission to stop wanting, permission to stop waiting, to stop apologizing, to stop shrinking, permission to believe that they're already capable of more than they've ever been allowing themselves to pursue, right? Just permission, just do it. Just be with yourself and just do it. You are capable of it. Go after your dreams. Don't play small anymore. You were made in this world to do what you want to do. There's only one version of you. You are so unique. Believe it and just go for it. All right? My name is Jessica Cherry, and you can catch brand new episodes every Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on KWVH 94.3 Wimberley Valley Radio. And of course, you can listen anytime, anywhere on your favorite podcast platform. Just search She Will Empower, and I'll be right there waiting for you. And if you're an early riser or trying to become one, come hang out with me every Tuesday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. on the Wake Up Club on Wimberley Valley Radio. It's cozy, it's fun, it's full of great music and awesome conversations. And honestly, it's one of the best ways to start your morning feeling grounded, connected, and a little more alive. Now, if you're here in Central Texas and your nervous system feels fried, overwhelmed, or like you've been running on fumes for way too long, I'd love to see you in person at Lone Star Sound Baths. Just search Lone Star Sound Baths on social media and you'll find me. I guide immersive sound bath experiences designed to help you soften, settle, and truly reset your mind, your body, and your spirit. It's one of the most healing offerings I provide, and serving our community in this way is something I deeply love. And you can also connect with me through Ladies Lifestyle Network Hayes County, where I host monthly empowerment and networking events all across the Hill Country. These gatherings feature powerful speakers, local nonprofits, incredible women owned businesses, and some truly beautiful venues. Women come to these rooms to grow, to be seen, and to rise together. And I've watched lifelong friendships and game changing business connections form right before my eyes. And if you want a more personal look behind the scenes of motherhood, entrepreneurship, and real life as it unfolds, you can come find me over on social media at Life of a Cherry Wife. And if you ever need help with social media and marketing, you can find me on Howdy Social TX. Truly, thank you for being with me today. Thank you for showing up, for doing the work, and for choosing growth, even when it stretches you. And before you go, I want you to do one small thing for your future self. Even something small and tiny, tiny moves add up. Tiny choices compound. And sometimes it's that one small decision that becomes the moment that changes everything. Tiny moves create big impact. And sometimes that big impact could be the confidence boost you need today. So stay powerful, stay grounded, stay connected, and have the most amazing, beautiful day and week. I'll see you next time. Bye.